Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. It's our reading through the Tanak night, the 24th of June, 2026. Okay, we'll be reading our 5 chapters all night out of 2 Kings, chapters 21 through 25. We're going to read each chapter like we normally do and break it down and we'll talk about it. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, the Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine, get the meat out. These videos lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing or receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. Okay, we have our Cash App at the bottom of the screen. For those that want to support this channel, help it move along, that too would be greatly appreciated. Okay, we also have a women's line for the women that want to join, get some of this knowledge. It's Israel Wake Up, and we come on every Thursday night from 7 to 9. So if you want to join, you can either you can come in or you can call 337-802-0889, and then we can get you the link where you can engage. Okay. So with that being said, for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanak and the Torah. Tanak being the Old Testament, so-called book of remembrance. Okay, from Genesis to Malachi, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer and our Deliverer, Lord of Hope. Okay, this channel was created to aid and assist our Hebrews who are waking up to their true identity in these last days, and also understanding who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is. Shalom and welcome to this channel, and welcome to our reading through the Tanakh night. Okay, we're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, a prayer, the Psalms. Then we have some current events, some need to know information. We'll open it up for anybody with any questions, comments, any dialogue or testimonies. And then our topic for discussion is I have 2 videos dealing with the topic. It's that I've been talking about how that the Republicans, this mega Republicans and the Project 25, they have to do something by November. And so we're going to see that right here when I show you these 2 videos. Okay. And our scripture reading, like I said, will be out of 2 Kings, or we'll be reading chapter 21 through 25. Then we'll pick a scripture, and we'll break that scripture down, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll close out, okay? This moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts, and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. So Lord, we thank you for your great mercy and your great power and your wisdom, and we tarry waiting for your powerful deliverance of your people, Israel. Oh Lord, you have given us insight into the scriptures of our forefathers, and you, O Lord, have directed us to who you are and your role in the goings on of heaven and earth. Okay? And we come this day doubtless that you will appear and that you will gather your nation from among these wicked Gentiles. Okay? Tarry not, O Lord, for the latter days are here. We are waiting and watching for you. Peace be unto you. Okay? Let me read a psalm. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll read Psalm 66. It's the great works of God. Okay. Make a joyful noise to God, all ye lands. Sing forth the honor of his name. Make his praise glorious. Say unto God, how terrible art thou in thy works. Through the greatness of thy power shall thine enemies submit themselves unto thee. All the earth shall worship thee, and shall sing unto thee. They shall sing to thy name, Selah. Come and see the works of God. He is terrible in his doings toward the children of men. He turned the sea into dry land. They went through the flood on foot. There did we rejoice in him. He ruled by his power forever. His eyes behold the nations. Let not the rebellious exalt themselves. Selah. O bless our God, ye people, and make the voice of his praise to be heard, which holdeth our soul in life, and suffereth not our feet to be moved. For thou, O God, hast proved us. Thou hast tried us, as silver is tried. Thou broughtest us into the net. Thou laidest afflictions upon us, upon our loins. Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through the fire and through water, but thou broughtest us out into a wealthy place. I went, I will go into thine house with burnt offerings. I will pay thee my vows, which my lips have uttered, and my mouth hath spoken when I was in trouble. I will offer unto thee burnt sacrifices of fatlings with the incense of rams. I will offer bullocks with goats. Selah. Come and hear, all ye that fear God, and I will declare what he hath done for my soul. I cried unto him with my mouth, and he was extolled with my tongue. If I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. But verily God hath heard me. He hath attended to the voice of my prayer. Blessed be God, which hath not turned away my prayer, nor his mercy from me. Okay, that was Psalm 66. Okay, you got anything on that?
Shalom, brother Leonard. In verse 19, sir, just
Okay,
where it says, "He hath attended to the voice of my prayer." Um,
right.
yes, sir. That's alluding to the fact that we pray out loud. Versus like kind of in other religions. Well, not even kind of, but in other religions, they say like meditate or pray within yourself.
Right, yeah,
But yeah,
we see the situation with uh, Daniel. Remember in chapter 9, he said his self to prayer and fasting, and
right,
then Gabriel came and he said on the 21st day he started praying on the first day, but Gabriel didn't make it to him till the 21st day. But he said, "I heard your prayer on the first day."
right,
Okay, so
sure,
ain't that something?
sure,
And so my thing about this is was the crazy part about how they snowbirded a bunch of our people with JC. So we see right here in verse 15, um, the psalmist is saying that in verse 15, I will offer unto thee burnt sacrifices, right? Burnt sacrifices of fatlings with the incense of rams, and I will offer bullocks with goats. So that's required, right?
right,
Now all of a sudden JC done away with it. Ain't that so?
right. Yes, sir.
So the father he required rams and goats and bullocks, but JC came. He said JC to stop that. And then so
Right, yes, sir. And that
let that permeate.
and and they brother in the Hebrews too though say that the sacrifices stop like some of the camps and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. They Hebrew Christian.
Oh right, oh, right, okay, yeah, yes, sir, right,
Right. Okay. So yeah, it's only fitting and proper. Okay. So anyway, with that being said, we're gonna go to our current events. Okay, we got a whole lot of information. So tie your shoes up. Okay, here we go.
disgusting framing from corporate media in the U.S. I mean, these.
So this is an ex-UN official, and he exposed him to the or what the media hid about Israel and America. Okay, let's check it out.
People are like ghouls. The U.S. government is on a criminal rampage across the globe. Israel, the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, and others have decided that the word terrorism is a magic word. And they think if they call somebody a terrorist, international law, human decency, logic does no longer apply.
Obviously, Iran is not the only country in the crosshairs. We also have Venezuela and much of the Western Hemisphere. You know, they like talking about the Don Road Doctrine. So I want to show you a video and have you react to it. It's from this Sunday from Face the Nation. It's Margaret Brennan having a really fascinating, disturbing, dystopian conversation with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth about the recent assassination carried out by the U.S. In conjunction with the Venezuelan government of Nino Guerrero, the leader of the supposed gang that, by the way, the U.S. helped create, Vende Aragua. So let's take a look.
Ask you about Venezuela because there was also big news within the past few days. President Trump said the U.S. military killed Nino Guerrero, the leader of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, or TDA, in an airstrike earlier this week. He had been indicted in the Southern District of New York for many crimes. I'm wondering, why go with a strike option? Why not snatch and grab him and make him face justice in a U.S. court like you did with Nicolas Maduro?
First of all, I love the way she's saying, like, why not do the reasonable thing, like snatch and grab? Okay.
I was going to say, we did that. We've shown we can do that when we did it with Nicolas Maduro. And because of that, it created the conditions where, in partnership with the Venezuelan government, this is a huge deal. I mean, they invited our military in because they have a foreign terrorist organization on their soil in Tren de Aragua, the founder and leader, and we were able to identify where he was and kill him. Just like we would kill Al-Qaeda or ISIS, and we did in the Middle East, we treat these foreign terrorist organizations the same way, just like we do with drug boats when we identify they're run by those FDOs. So that is a great development. I mean, think about that. President Trump had the foresight to seize Maduro, change the relationship. We have a totally different energy dynamic around the world. By the way energy flows today, the straits will be nowhere near as relevant 1 to 2 years from now. Because of the foresight of President Trump, he's made us energy independent at home. We're a net exporter. Now Venezuela, through our partnerships, now we're killing foreign terrorist leaders who have terrorized the American people. The amount of drugs and gangs that came from
energy prices are pretty high right now.
It's a huge deal.
So I don't know that the independence is helping people at the pump.
They are.
We'll talk about that later in the program, but I want to come back to the Venezuela point.
By the way, we're going to watch the whole thing, but just note that her objection is not that they've been doing these extrajudicial assassinations with no evidence of drug dealing. By the way, you're also not allowed to just take out drug dealers, right, in international waters. But that's not what she's annoyed by or what she takes issue with or what she pushes back on. It's whether or not gas prices at the pump have gone down.
Given that the U.S. military just carried out this operation, should Americans understand that the U.S. will remain militarily involved in Venezuela? Should they expect similar operations in places like Ecuador and Guatemala, where the U.S. is working with their governments?
Yes, they should. It's called the America's Counter Cartel Coalition, ACCC.
So I mean, he gets really excited about that, but what's your response to this?
I mean, more disgusting framing from corporate media in the U.S. I mean, these people are like ghouls.
Yeah, they are ghouls.
It's amazing to me. First of all of those activities, I heard somebody recently refer to him as the Secretary of War Crimes. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
That's actually perfect. I mean, the targeting of boats in the Caribbean, those were acts of summary execution. Those are crimes under international law. They're violations of the treaty obligations of the United States. It is a criminal enterprise. The assassination of people that they declare to be, drug lords or whatever the case may be, and that's a crime. If you suspect someone of a crime, you deal with the country where they are. You can arrange for extradition, or they can be tried in that country, get a fair trial, due process, a lawyer, all of that. You don't get to kill them.
Right.
The attack on Venezuela was an act of aggression, the crime of crimes under international law. The attack on Iran was an act of aggression that was followed by a series of war crimes through the targeting and the failure of distinction and targeting civilian targets and civilians themselves, including schoolgirls. All of these are crimes. The US government is on a criminal rampage across the globe, from Western Asia to the Caribbean and beyond. The sanctions embargo that they've imposed on Cuba has been an ongoing crime. It's a violation of international law, unilateral coercive measures that violate the rights of the people of Cuba and also violate the sovereignty of Cuba itself. All of these are crimes. And you heard Secretary of War Crimes there use the word terrorism, foreign designated terrorist organization, so on. This is the dangerous moment in which we live. Israel, the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, and others have decided that the word terrorism is a magic word. And they think if they call somebody a terrorist, international law, human decency, logic does no longer apply. That you can, and by the way, this started a long time ago with George Bush. It was carried on by Obama with their extrajudicial executions, all around the world and so on. These are crimes. And so now everyone is being called a terrorist. We just saw, 4 people in the United Kingdom who undertook a direct action on Elbit Systems to stop arms going to a genocide, have now been charged with secret terrorism charges that could send them to jail for a very long time. If you want to prosecute them for vandalism or whatever, fine. But terrorism, this is what terrorism is now. Terrorism is whatever we say it is. And by the way, there's no definition of terrorism in international law because it's not really a thing. There are combatants, there are non-combatants, there's criminal activity. But to call someone a terrorist is not a magic word.
That being framed as terrorism.
Or consider, Israel murdering people in Lebanon with booby-trapped pagers in a transnational terrorist attack. Now, if somebody else did that to the United States or to, would it not be called terrorism?
Right. Yeah. And you don't have to be a Craig McIver or like a lefty, whatever, describe however you want to define me.
Pompeo.
What'd you say?
It was Pompeo, wasn't it?
It was no, not quite. Leon Panetta. What's Panetta? Panetta, right?
It was Panetta, yeah. Former CIA.
Yeah, former CIA head said, of course this is terrorism, which is so funny because I have some liberal friends who are like, well, I don't like everything that they do, but that was really impressive. Like, well, Leon Panetta said it was terrorism. I'm like, well, I don't feel like.
Let me tell you a story about that.
I was a CIA head, so if he thinks it's terrorism, yeah.
I recently delivered a keynote at a big union event, and I won't say which one. I don't want to expose anybody there, but there were 2 people in the audience who were dyed-in-the-wool Zionists, and they were medical doctors. And when I mentioned this, they cheered. 2 of them cheered and clapped.
When you mentioned the
transnational terror attack with the pagers, and these are physicians. And I thought to myself, how do people get to this level?
I know, yeah.
But
that's
what we're up against.
Wow.
Okay, you got a thing on that?
Shalom, but Leonard, when they mention like terrorism being like being something for the U.S., like you had mentioned Project 2025, I remember that executive order that the president rolled out where he specifically said, like cartels, drug dealers, we considering you as terrorists. This way we can, go around international law. And so that, I feel like that allowed them to, when they took Venezuela, just to try to put some narrative behind the U.S. having any power at this time at this point in the world, period. And then they went up against, because they were going up against Iran. So I feel like they did that to try to make it seem like, and I know they're trying to demolish the nation, but I feel like for the narrative in the media, they took Venezuela to try to make it look like America is still powerful. But the same with him saying we gonna take Canada and Greenland and stuff. But,
right, exactly.
Yes, sir.
They called it that was a trap because they thought they was gonna do the same thing with Iran, and look what they had.
Exactly. To the dog.
Trap. Right.
Mhm.
That's something. Check this out.
The Shaw. As you all know, Tucker Carlson has been very loud and very aggressive over the issue of the Iran war. He says he's against the Iran war. He's also talked quite a bit about Israel, and he's called out, Netanyahu's control over our government and how our government appears to not be sovereign anymore. So he's been going.
And this right now today. This what these people is got so many Israelites and so many people in the world snowed in because they so easy to put on faces. Don't believe nothing about what they representing. Most of the time it's totally opposite. They putting them on the other side to bring drama, but they actually on the other side.
After Zionist quite a bit.
That's what Tucker Carlson doing.
And look, take it for what it's worth. Every time he's going after the right targets, good for you. Keep going after those correct targets. Divide and conquer from within that Republican coalition. Call them out, expose them as frauds. It have the effect of taking down this toxic ass group running the country, right? Known as MAGA. But the other day, he was doing an interview, and he came out and said, like, I'm done with the Republican Party. I'm done. I'm out.
Check it out.
So interesting clip. Let's watch, and then I'll break it down further for you. Here we go.
I would not support the Republican Party. There's no chance I would support the Republican Party. I'm not going to support the Democratic Party. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Like.
But at this point, how could I or any American voter support a political party that's not loyal to the United States, that puts the interests of a foreign country above those of its own citizens? Like, that's it's not possible.
Now, by the way, let me just pause to point out, we know from detailed reporting that Netanyahu tried to run this trick on Bill Clinton, tried to run it on Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and George W. Bush, and Trump. The trick, of course, being, and Hillary even described this, the trick being, hey, I have planes on the tarmac about to go bomb Iran. We have to do it. We have no choice. So come join us with this. Every other U.S. president said, go fuck yourself. This is a sovereign country. Not only am I not helping you bomb Iran, also I am blocking you from bombing Iran. Turn those motherfucking planes off and shut the fuck up. Okay? Every other president said, we're a sovereign country. You don't boss us around, bitch. Stop it. And then Yahoo had to stop it. The only person who was dumb enough to go along with it was fucking Donald J. Trump. So when you do your whole you can't be controlled by a foreign country bit, I got news for you. Everybody else in the political motherfucking conversation is not controlled by another country. Or even if you argue they are, because of Israel lobby money or whatever, they're controlled to a significantly lower degree than your fucking guy who you rode hard for. Okay? So hold this big, fat, juicy L. And I hate the false equivalence. I'm not a Republican. I could never vote for a Republican, but I could also never vote for a Democrat. Oh, really? Oh, really? So how about you go to shut the fuck upsville? How about you shove your false equivalence directly up your ass? Because both parties are not the same. One is significantly better than the fucking other. And deep down, you fucking know that, don't you? But he actually does take that position, but in the wrong way. He still is sympathetic to the Republicans, as I'll show you in a second. But let's keep going here. He's not done.
Country above those of its own citizens. That's it's not possible to vote for people like that. That I'm not going to. And I think I voted Republican my entire life. I worked at Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. I've been a consistent defender for 35 years of the Republican Party. I mean, very consistent defender. But there's no defending this because it's immoral. And it's exactly the opposite of what a political party in a democracy is charged with doing, which is representing its own voters, its own citizens, its own nation. And they're not doing that. So, no, I'm out. And if I'm out, then I think a lot of other people are out.
How does he reckon with the fact that it's still the case that about 80% of Republican voters are pro-Israel? How do you reckon with that fact, right? That you are more sympathetic to the Republican Party, but that party is far more beholden to this hostile, evil foreign government that you admit is hostile and evil. Weird, but I rule out the Democratic Party. I'll go with the worst party over and over and over. Please, fucking pathetic. But so he comes out and goes, I'm done with the Republican Party. I'm leaving the Republican Party. This is over. I will never do anything like this again. You can bet on it. You can count on it. Okay. In the same motherfucking interview, he's asked about J.D. Vance. Listen.
What's your take on J.D. Vance? Do you think he is still America first? Because I know you were friends with
J.D. Vance.
By the way, J.D. Vance reportedly behind the scenes said to Trump, if you're going to do the Iran thing, go big and go hard. That's what he said. Or go big and go fast. That's what he said. So he was advocating for, no, if you're going to do this, you really got to go aggressively. So Mr. Anti-War, turns out when push came to shove, was like, do it big bigger war. Make it a big one. Do that. So, I love JD Vance. Mr. I'm anti-war, I'm anti-Iran war, I'm anti-Israel. JD Vance is a fucking creation of Peter Thiel and the AI tech demons who are coming to take away all of our freedom. Okay? They're spying on everybody. They're creating a blackmail file on everybody. They want all the money and all the power. They're actively trying to usher in end times. He literally cannot shut the fuck up about the Antichrist. He's anti-human in the sense that he wants to make us these weird cyborgs, these AI cyborgs. Oh, I love JD Vance. Fuck you.
Still America first. Because I know you were a friend.
I love JD Vance.
You do.
I know. Yeah, I know.
You can see the host is like, wait, didn't you just say you left the Republican Party? Oh, but I love this. I love the number 2 in command of the Republican Party. That's who I love. I hate that party. But that number 2 guy, he's fucking awesome.
JD so well, and Vice President Vance, and I've known him since long before he got into politics, and I know his family well, and my wife knows it. I mean, I think of him as a friend. I will always think of him as a friend. And
even though he's partaking in one of the worst crimes of all time, as I will admit to you, because it's an illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us, where they bombed hospitals and schools and bridges and power plants. Even though he's partaking in perhaps one of the worst crimes of all time, I'll always love this guy, man. He's my boy.
Ardent advocate for him being vice president, for him getting elected to the Senate. I've always been a big JD Vance fan because, and I remain. I think he's in an impossible situation.
Okay, what do you think so far?
Yeah, Shalom. He telling you how they really are.
Exactly. Exposing his own hand.
Right.
I say people don't really pay attention to that, but they hang their own neck.
The argument, oh, this small being JD Vance, oh, were you dragged along to commit war crimes and atrocities? Oh, I'm sorry. What you do is you step up like a man and you go, I'm out, I'm resigning, I'm done with this shit. Now, if that wasn't clear enough, Tucker Carlson tells Alex Jones he'll support JD Vance for president just days after saying he's going to leave the Republican Party. Here we go.
Well, will you support JD Vance? I think he's great compared to Rubio.
Obviously, he's great compared to Rubio. Obviously, look, I'll support the best person. I always have liked JD Vance enormously. He's really smart. He's in an impossible situation. And
by the way, I've never been proven correct so quickly. When I told you that Tucker, all of his like anti-Israel, anti-Iran war bit, it all comes to naught because he's going to take all of that energy in the Republican base that he's taking with him and then redirect it right back into supporting JD Vance, who also, by the way, are you really going to fall for this motherfucking trick again? This like, oh, sure, we're Republicans and we're right-wingers, but we're anti-war right-wingers. We're pro-worker right-wingers. We're anti-establishment and anti-corruption right-wingers. And then the second you give them a little bit of power, they immediately prove they were lying about all of it. Motherfucking Josh Hawley, same shit. Oh, I'm a populist right-winger. Turns out I'm just like all the rest of them. Turns out I'm pro-corruption, pro-corporate, tax cuts for the rich, tax cuts for billionaires, endless war, pro-Israel. They lied every step of the motherfucking way. 50% of the time with Republicans, 50% of the time with Democrats. Even the best Republican like Thomas Massie still votes like over 90% of the time with Trump and Republicans. What a fucking joke. Oh, so on one vote, congratulations. One vote, you were decent. Releasing the Epstein files. Virtually every fucking Democrat supported that too. And you guys give no credit to them. Oh my God, I hate these people so much. Oh, I hate them so much. I'm so sick of the Democrat derangement syndrome. I'm so fucking sick of it. We're all anti-war. We're all anti-Israel. Oh, don't look at the rising tsunami of Democratic candidates who are anti-war and anti-Israel, and forthrightly so, with no weaseliness. Look at the fucking fat sociopath prick who helped get us into this Iran war. Fuck you. Fuck you.
I love how the...
Okay. You got anything else on that?
Just like you said, Brother Leonard, they're gonna hate the horde. I mean, he just said it.
Yeah, that's where they at. Exactly. So with that being said, I got some need to know information right here. Like I said, I've been screaming this forever and a day, and it's all coming to a head. Check it out. Let me see. Yeah, this guy right here, he's breaking it down. Check it out.
Me saying, this is a war. A man is in our last conversation, you were basically setting up that the end of the Iran war would come right in line with the IPOs.
I think it's already been signed, and now they're just playing theatrics. They're trying to time it with the liquidity needs of the major IPOs that are coming.
Where do you think we're heading next? What's your read on the situation?
Who won? The financial industrial complex and transnational capital won. The reality is China won. That means that they can control both the petrodollar and petro-yuan. If you think Trump works for the American people, then nothing makes sense. Trump's a transaction guy. His job as a deal maker is to put deals together for his lobbies. The markets were never saying that this was a real war. If there was a real war, I was saying gold would be moving in parallel to oil. They have completely cornered the short-term price of Bitcoin to manipulate it, but their goal is to get your Bitcoin in custody. The technical industrial complex are ushering in an Orwellian AI surveillance state, one world control grid, social credit scores.
That's where the data centers coming in at. That's what's coming in right here, what he just said.
Central bank digital currencies, stable coins, you will own nothing and be happy. We'll custody the assets, you get the token, and you become a perpetual gambler.
Hey, Meta. Hello, Claire.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
All right, good morning, Simon. Thank you so much for joining me, for jumping back on. I needed to have you back because in our last conversation with Professor Dave Cullum, you were basically setting up that the end of the Iran war would come right in line with the IPOs, with the SpaceX IPO. And lo and behold, you were bang on. You were dead right. We got the first whispers of it the Thursday before, I believe, coming from the Pakistan Prime Minister. We had the SpaceX IPO on Friday, and then on Sunday, the whole 250th anniversary celebration there, the UFC event, they were saying it was done, it was completed, and it seems to be that actually was the case. So I wanted to get your immediate kind of response, your feedback. Looks like the deal is done. I'm curious, where do you think we're heading next? What's your read on the situation?
Yeah, sure. So if we rewind back when I first came on your podcast to discuss Iran, I think it was like 100 days ago or something to that, when it first broke out. Prior to that, we were discussing Venezuela and various other things. And when the Iran war broke out, the headline on your video was me saying, this is a war, a managed transition between the military-industrial complex and the financial-industrial complex. And the military-industrial complex represents the more nationalistic, US-dominated post-World War II Bretton Woods order. And the financial-industrial complex are transitioning the world into multipolarity, while the technical industrial complex are ushering in an Orwellian AI surveillance state.
So when you say technical part of it, that's the technocrats. That's the billionaires that's following Trump everywhere he go. Every time you got some kind of major meeting, all them show up.
One world control grid that consists of artificial intelligence, social credit scores, central bank digital currencies, stable coins, tokenize everything. You will own nothing and be happy. We'll custody the assets, you get the token, and you become a perpetual gambler. That's those were like the dynamics at work. And so if you look through what we saw, Netanyahu, I've always said, is middle management for the military-industrial complex. That consists of, the radical Zionists in Israel, the neocon, evangelical Christian boomers in America.
There we go.
And then factions of power within the IRGC that benefit from the continuation of a forever war. Those are, kind of the net beneficiaries of servicing the military-industrial complex. If you want to transition to a world of multipolarity, the Middle East becomes effectively a go-between, a financial go-between between China-led BRICS SCO blocks and America as a regional power that dominates Europe and the Western Hemisphere, but private corporate interests dominated by those three factions of private corporate power, MIC, FIC, and TIC. And so FIC aligned with the Gulf Sovereign Wealth Funds, which are predominantly funded by energy purchases from China. So transnational capital, you have, the financial industrial complex, which is hosted in New York, the stock market, the bond market, London factions like the insurance market, the FX markets, the derivative markets, the Swiss Bank for International Settlements. But all the liquidity is on New York, in the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. And so that faction co-opted the Gulf Sovereign Wealth Funds, i.e. you get to joint invest in every deal. But because they are trade surplus countries and America is world reserve currency, the dollar becomes a vehicle for asset stripping the West. And then you have to partner with those that maintain their energy and are able to have large sovereign wealth funds who end up purchasing all the assets. And as they purchase more and more assets, they exert more control. Foreign direct investment is the vehicle for exerting control in the financial industrial complex, assets under administration. But it is all backed up by the largest manufacturing base in the world, which is China. And so that creates an informal allegiance of capital, which can dictate the flow of funds globally. And the other part of that is energy. And so
you're going somewhere.
The energy part, you know, so you got Netanyahu, that is the most paid figurehead for the military industrial complex. For the financial industrial complex, you got Trump. Trump's a transaction guy, you know, and his job as a deal maker is to put deals together for his lobbies. And his lobbies he's mainly aligned with FIC. He's not a neocon. He's a bankster that kind of looks, well, you know, he's a deal maker that works for capital. Yeah. Is the way to think about him. Then you have, you know, so by closing the Strait of Hormuz, you manufacture a crisis.
Check it out.
Just like COVID shutdowns, which was also under the Trump administration. Operation Warp Speed.
The Halogen Directive. I'm always talking about that.
2.0, but you manufacture a pricing event that concentrates wealth upwards, which is more like the Global World Economic Forum agenda. And when you think about all those different companies, let's say the CEO, the representative of the World Economic Forum is Larry Fink and BlackRock because they got the most assets under administration.
Okay.
And Larry Fink and BlackRock, you know, is kind of part of this financial industrial complex. And so by pricing everyone out, you get massive concentration of power upwards. You get, through fiscal dominance, a stock market boom. And the tension happens in the currency market and the bond market. And so throughout this whole war, I was saying, once the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, I was looking at the yields on the 30-year, the yields on the 10-year, the price of oil as a mechanism for pricing everyone out and creating inflation. And the markets were never saying that this was a real war. If there was a real war, I was saying gold would be moving in parallel to oil, as well as looking at those bonds. And then eventually that would justify an environment for QE in order to prop up stocks. And so the market knew that this was a temporary state of being. And so I was always expecting a deal to be done. Now, I didn't get the timing right. I was saying that this is going to be similar to the 12-day war. But once I saw that the Hormuz was, you know, the Strait was going to be closed, I could see that there was the opportunity to renegotiate every single contract, including the flow of energy, and that this was going to manage a transition of about 2 to 5 years of events into probably a concentrated, what looks like, you know, a 90-day period followed by a 60-day and everything that goes in between. But the markets were telling me that this was theatrical, but also a power struggle. And so I go back to who won? The financial industrial complex and transnational capital won. And so we're now getting into the phase of managing narratives so that we can transition to this multipolar world order. And so the first stage was to announce the deals being done. And the last time we talked, I said, liquidity is incredibly important right now. And so in the leading up to the Xi Jinping and Trump meeting, I thought something will change there. I thought maybe that would be the timing to get a deal done. But what it actually was, it was a signal. It was a signal for Xi Jinping to exert his, let's say, optical vision of how the world has changed. You know, that it is all the Mick and Fick and Tick executives begging Xi Jinping to not shut down their factories of cheap labor, to not shut down their rare earth minerals for all of this AI bubble that's needed, and to make sure that semiconductor chips are still flowing. And that was the purpose of the Xi Jinping meeting. And Xi Jinping publicly said, leave Taiwan and we're all good. And that was really it. And so Trump came and said, Taiwan off limits to the MIC. And the MIC, now we entered into a transitionary phase. And that transitionary phase was publicly stating, here's what a deal looks like. And that is a FIC deal. If you look at every single part of the 14 points, these are financial transactions. And the construct of those financial transactions is what the purpose of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the theatrical war in order to lead to this resetting of the world order. So now we've got the 14 points. And I said, what would I do if I were FIC? Well, I'd probably want to make sure that the SpaceX IPO went very well. And so one way of ensuring that it goes very well is to announce on the Thursday prior to the Friday, have the weekend, and then come back on a Monday. It required vast amounts of liquidity, because if the SpaceX IPO doesn't go well, then that will affect the stock market, Anthropic, OpenAI, and it will weaken the negotiations for the FIC. And so this was the point at which the FIC, which ultimately controls the MIC, exerts their right. This is a managed transition. There's bounded escalation. Oil's allowed to go up to these prices, but every time it goes to demand destruction phase, then Trump, you need to do some kind of taco story. And so Trump will come out with a taco, there'll be a bunch of market manipulation, but he'll get the price of oil down, from that bounded level. And every time the yields were blowing out above 5% on the 30-year, 4.5% on the 10-year, you get another taco. And so bondholders, which are FIC, and their portfolio of LNG and oil companies that were benefiting from these higher prices. And the reason this was so chaotic is because Trump's middle management, he probably doesn't know what's coming next. His job is to just create a narrative, and FIC is trying to get the best terms, and Trump is the front man, just like in China, right? I'm the front man for all these real power, all these executives. Those executives work for the board. The board are representative of the shareholders, and the shareholders is dominated by FIC. And so that's the hierarchy. Trump's the gateway to FIC. Netanyahu's the gateway to MIC. In MIC, you have the deep state, Mossad, MI6, and CIA. And so you bound these escalation cycles, but ultimately, when a deal needs to be done and when FIC's ready to do it, you can say, hey, Mick, why don't you go blow up Lebanon? Why don't you escalate there? And then that will give us more leverage. And then Trump and Netanyahu play good cop and bad cop. Absolutely.
Stop overpaying for internet and watch.
Play a little more of this, okay?
From Japan is going to dry up now. That free trade to invest in US stocks goes. The Bank of Japan and the Fed can rug pull the US whenever they want. And so they've got that trade going. So Japan's leaning more into Asia. decoupling bit by bit without a managed transition. Kevin Walsh, I think, is too soon. Probably nothing will happen tomorrow. Rates remain unchanged. If we get an increase in rate or a decrease in rate, that will definitely take the market by shock.
That's a major signal. Yeah, I think we'll just get. I think we'll be analyzing the transcripts for slight differences in the words used at turns. Which, man, it really feels like they're turning up the dial on the carrot to try and get you to part with your Bitcoin. Like that seems, no offense, straight out of like Celsius or BlockFi. Like we're gonna give you 25% annual return. Get the fuck out of here. This is like this. What are your thoughts on that? Sorry, I just wanted to get that in there.
Yeah, so to close that one anyway, yes, the digital ID that's agenda. That will keep, they'll keep mission creeping and raising the bar. If you think Trump works for the American people, then nothing makes sense. If you think he works for transnational capital with some compensation of wars for Mick, with an Orwellian technocratic governance structure for Tip, then Trump did everything he was paid to do. And the World Economic Forum will make sure that crypto is used so that they own the asset. You will own nothing. And how are they going to make you happy? Engineer a pump and dump in the AI bubble, which China can burst at any time, as we described in the last interview, through the stock market, commodity market, or bond market. And what will they replace you with? A universal basic income. So they built all the layers. Maybe JD Vance is that guy, the Palantir's guy, Peter Thiel's guy. Maybe there's a regime change into the Democrats. It doesn't matter. They'll corner both sides to get the same agenda. But you will own nothing and be happy means, let me translate this for you. They custody, you leverage, you get the token, you get the Wall Street wrapper, the stock, the vehicle, and when they rug pull it from you and you've got no Bitcoin in self-custody, they give you the universal basic income so that you are happy. And what will the universal basic income be? It will be just enough stable, programmatic, social credit score powered stablecoin that is spent into propping up the economy to concentrate more wealth into those that own the assets and those that own the AI at the end of this. And so I think where we came from this is there one more disaster?
Yeah.
I think the AI pump and dump is the next one. That will be just like the dot-com boom and bust. The second wave of investors, so the VCs and the private equity and the FIC and the IPO and the investment banks and the commercial banks, they just made all their money through the IPO. That's done.
Yeah.
Then
you think they'll wait for the unlock period, and do you think they'll wait for Anthropic and OpenAI to go public as well?
I do, yes.
Okay.
So Trump his job is to do fiscal dominance. Kevin's wash is to facilitate that. This will lead to that ginormous pump that gets all the capex and malinvestment to build all this new AI infrastructure. But what's interesting about the AI infrastructure is it expires in 3 years. You need to reinvest again in 3 years with all the latest chips. Where's all that money coming from? And so the private credit market is the too big to fail. That's how you get your QE. And the justification whole market has never been more sensitive to that.
Yep.
And if you want to bail it out, you bail it out with some stable coins, which helps the TIC agenda, the World Economic Forum agenda.
Okay. You got anything on that? So the objective is that he said that the Iran war was lost on purpose because of all of this, what they're doing. It's all about finances and positioning themselves for what they're getting ready to do. You got anything on that?
Shalom, Berlin, and that makes sense too, because he said Trump is middle management.
Oh yeah, right.
Right.
Exactly.
So who's behind the data centers, like you already said, it's Israel.
Oh yeah. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna open it up for some Q&A. Got any questions, comments, any dialogue or testimony about anything that you came across or you heard on the channel?
Shalom, yes sir. Brother Leonard, I have two questions. One question with Isaiah, with the suffering servant with Isaiah 53. I had never thought about this. This is my question. Is Isaiah? I mean, is the servant innocent? The suffering servant,
Is he innocent?
right? Or are
No,
they
no,
innocent?
no. They violated the Torah.
Mm,
Like it goes back to what Moses told them, and then he let me see if there's Moses. You know the Song of Moses? It's Exodus 32.
yeah, yes sir. Mm-hmm.
You familiar with that? That Song of Moses?
Right, yes sir.
So Moses sung to them. He sung
Right.
it
Mm-hmm.
to them, all that's gonna befall them. The Lord of hosts showed that to him.
Right.
In vision. He sung it to them all what they was gonna do after he died. And so they went a whoring and put and out these other idols. And that's why they just suffer servant. And another verse is, I know you've heard it before. I don't know if you connected the dots with it, but he asked the question, the Lord of hosts asked the question, how did Israel become a homeborn slave?
Right. Okay. I remember hearing that.
Yeah, so he became a homeborn slave because he went against his God's laws, statutes, and judgment. He went against the Torah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How did he end up over here? Because he went against the Most High's laws, statutes, and judgment. Okay.
Okay. Right. That makes sense.
Right.
And then brother, another question is about in Second Kings.
Okay.
When, yes, sir. The nations that went into Samaria, right? And you had mentioned that the Ava is Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Or associated with Ethiopia. Yes, sir.
Right.
Is that where they did they make the Ethiopian Bible in Samaria?
No. That came later when it's tied to the the so-called church fathers.
Right. Okay.
Them Edomites, Greek and Roman Edomites in Alexandria.
Okay. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Alexandria. His objective was he got it from Plato, Aristotle, or one of them was his mentor, and so that's where he got the idea to rule the world from. And so he wanted to go rule the world, and we know the foundation of the Greek society is homosexuality, right? You know that?
Right.
So he wanted to go around, he wanted to conquer the whole world, and he wanted to build a whole bunch of Alexandrias, cities named after him, homosexual cities. That's what he did. He went everywhere making these homosexual cities. He had something like, if I'm not mistaken, 500, 600,000 Greeks with him when he started conquering. And every time he would conquer a country, he'll leave a group of Greeks there to rule that country. And they would synchronize, like I was saying, they would take what was already there and synchronize it with the Greek religion. That's how so everywhere he went, he left for every city or every country he went to, he left for Alexandria there, and he left a Greek contingent there to rule it. And so when he got to Egypt, that's what he done. That's where you get Alexandria, Egypt. That's where you get the library from. That's how you get the Greek the so-called church fathers. They're not Hebrews. They're Edomites, and during that time period, they got hold of our records. So they sitting there analyzing and dissecting our records in in the Library of Alexandria in Egypt. That's where all these other books come from, and then they writing them. They trying to be like the prophets. So they would write a book. They'll go plagiarize, or like I said, that's what they do. They go to each country and they'll synchronize and plagiarize that religion with theirs. So they go read one of our books, get one of our prophets and read his book, and then they start synchronizing and putting Greek philosophy and all that in it, and then put their name on it. So when you get to Council of Nicaea and they want to canonize the books, they start grabbing their books. That's why to today they got Negroes saying they don't want to read the book of Enoch, our father. They don't want to read the Apocrypha. They don't. They didn't incorporate their books into it. That's what the New Testament come in. Okay. Hellenized.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows it. It's like I was saying before about when you want to talk about when you understand who the Israelites are, they in Africa. They black folks, they in Africa. Well, look where Paul went. If you got all these people hell bent on Paul, well, look where he went. Paul 3 journeys. He went to Europe, right?
Yes, sir.
He went to these same people that Hitler was trying to kill. That's who they are. They proselytes, Khazarians, and Edomite Jews, Roman Edomite Jews. It's like I said, when that's shown to you, you can't not unsee it no more. Look where he went. If you trying to figure out who lying and who ain't, look where. All you gotta do is look at the map on the back of the Bible. Where he went, his 3 journeys. He not going to the Jews. The Israelites on West Coast Africa, where they fled to back in 143 BC when Antioch Epiphanes came. Another Greek. Okay.
Right. And Brother, that's the Septuagint, right? Did they come up with that in Alexander?
Yeah, right. That's why they did it at. Nobody wants to. They hate us. We hate it as a people. So they don't want to deal with the scriptures in Hebrew. So when they got to Alexandria, Egypt, at the Library of Alexandria, they had okay, we know that in Obadiah, these Edomites came in and stole the land of Israel, right? In 143 BC. They stole it by lot, by the 12 lots. The 12 tribes of Israel fled. They fled in the west, into the West Africa, right. from Antioch Epiphanes and the Greeks. So that's them in the land. So when they get to Alexandria, Egypt, they want the Bible. They had 70 fake priests. They're not real Levites. They're not real priests. They had 70 fake priests come to Alexandria, Egypt, and they rewrote the Tanak into the Greek language. That's how you get Septuagint.
And Shalom, Brother Leonard, how did they understand the Hebrew language, the Greeks, to even translate it?
But Edomites, remember they Edomites, they Hebrew Edomites. Just like we Hebrew Israelites, right. They raised by Abraham too. That's right. Who Josephus is. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They spoke Hebrew. They're Edomites though, but they was raised. These Edomites raised by Abraham. Remember, they want our heritage all the way back to when Jacob received it. Remember, he wanted it, and then Isaac told him, "You're gonna, he got the blessing." You know what I'm saying? He said, "But you're gonna live. I'm gonna give you a blessing, but you're gonna live in the fat places of the earth, but you're gonna live there by the sword, by violence.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
That's what Cain come in at. That's who he merged with. Cain descendants.
Right.
Japhet, that's Cain descendants. So they all came together. They have mutual hatred for the Israelites.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And that's how they come from. But like I said, if you don't do the research or you listen to them and you don't read these books, then you won't understand none of that. Okay. They have that whole story in the pseudepigrapha. If you're familiar with those two books, they got the story. I think it's they call it this table of Aurelius or something like that, where they fashioned this big long table, and they got 70 Edomite priests. That's who they were. That's who was in Israel at the time. So they had 6 from each tribe. 72, 6 from each tribe brought them to Alexandria, Egypt. Not in the temple in Jerusalem. They came to Alexandria, Egypt, which is big table and a big old contingent of Edomites with them, and they rewrote. These 72 priests rewrote converted the Tanak into Greek. That's how you get Septuagint. That's where the 70 come from. That's what 70 mean. Those 70 men that they got to come and rewrite the scriptures and translate it into Greek. So you guys, like I said, you don't take a rocket scientist. So if they did that, what New Testament was that? It wasn't no New Testament. The New Testament come from when they translated it. And they started reading it and copying it and doing what they were doing. That's how you get the New Testament. New Testament came about when they got Hotel Records, which is the Tanakh. So it never was, the New Testament never was in Hebrew. It was concocted in Greek. And they got it from when they made the Septuagint. And then, like I said, it's shameful because you got all these so-called scholars want to try to rebut that, but a baboon can see that. If you translated the Tanakh from Hebrew to Greek and wasn't no New Testament, then how you get the New Testament? It come from Greek. It never was Hebrew, right?
Right.
Yeah. So they don't take a rocket scientist to see that. So that delegitimized it right there because it wasn't never in Hebrew. Our forefathers and prophets and Yahweh, they all speak Hebrew. What the hell are they gonna make a Greek or New Testament for?
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. That don't even make sense.
Nah. It's a joke. You got something else?
No, sir, brother. I'm good. Shalom.
Okay, let me play this. This is I thought this is pretty interesting right here. Let me play it. Okay. This guy right here exposing the cover up with the about the Iran war. Okay.
Yes. They are trying to convince you that a foreign war on behalf of Israel is in your interests. It's time to expose the propagandists and the warmongers. The first casualty of war is truth. They're trying to tell you that this war is a defensive war. A blind man walking down the street can see that this is pure nonsense. It's a war of aggression, the ultimate crime. These lies just don't stop. We saw it in Iraq with Tony Blair's lies about weapons of mass destruction. We saw it in the destruction of Gaza, and now we're seeing it in Iran, setting the entire Middle East, and quite likely the world, on fire. So on day one, shortly after the assassination of Ayatollah Khamenei, a girls' school that was attacked. Seems there are about 175 killed, 100 more injured. The following day, I picked up the Sunday papers. One of them is a Sunday Telegraph. I've been through it several times. There's no mention of that at all. Imagine if 165 Israelis had been killed in a bomb from Iran, it would have been the story on the front. It would have been covered everywhere. But the death of 165 young girls is just of no consequence at all. So I know the editor of the Sunday Telegraph, Alistair Heath. I sent him an email saying, why didn't you cover this tragedy in the girls' school? I've not received a reply. And then I read his leader from the Telegraph. The Iranian regime is built on an Islamist doctrine which cannot meaningfully be negotiated with. It's simply untrue. The Iranians do negotiate, and they can absolutely be trusted as they stick to their promises. That was proven when Obama negotiated the JCPOA nuclear deal with Iran. In 2015, they stuck to it completely religiously until Trump walked away from it. And we know from the Omani foreign minister.
What has Iran agreed to?
Is the agreement that Iran will never, ever have a nuclear material that will create a bomb. So there will be zero accumulation, zero stockpiling, and full verification. Even United States inspectors will have access.
Iranians were negotiating really hard to avoid a war. They'd actually offered a better deal than they'd signed off on in 2015. That was on the table, and that, of course, is when America and Israel struck. Charles Moore, the former editor of the Telegraph and the biographer of Maggie Thatcher, produced a puff piece on Benjamin Netanyahu as the great war leader of our age. In this puff piece, he failed to mention the fact that the International Criminal Court has charges out against Netanyahu for alleged war crimes in connection with the destruction of Gaza. The same applies in the Times. They ran a piece by Yoav Gallant, the former Israeli defense minister, advocating this war in Iran. Now, it's bad enough that they ran a piece by somebody facing war crimes charges, but not to tell their readers about it is simply disgraceful. And look at this Telegraph headline. I'm very disappointed in here. This is the Daily Telegraph taking the side of a foreign leader against a British Prime Minister. Now, bear in mind that foreign leader is a convicted felon. He probably committed rape. He's a proven liar. He's a bigot. He's a racist. But also the way in which they just sneer at justice and law. It says that Keir Starmer has put his obsessions with international law ahead of the most fundamental duties of the state. Now, I'd like to remind Sunday Telegraph, because it's quite a significant thing to remind them of, what Maggie Thatcher said about international law. It's all we've got. In 1981, she criticized Israel very fiercely for attacking an Iraqi nuclear reactor. Monty Modlin, he was a journalist on the Jewish Chronicle, confronted her. You're selling Israel down the river. She waved her finger at it and said, international law is all we have. Once we lose it, we lose everything. This would have been Maggie's paper. It's not just dismissing international law as some curious obsession of the British Prime Minister. All of the right-wing media have gone this way. They are blindly supporting Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu's illegal, unplanned, incredibly stupid, barbarous attack on Iran. Consequences is absolutely catastrophe throughout the Middle East. The outbreak of regional war, stock markets will soon be plunging. It's clear that we face the likelihood of a global recession as oil prices spiral. We'll have some kind of civil war in Iran, and that will lead to millions of refugees fleeing for their lives. They'll come to the West, and then, of course, Nigel Farage has been one of the keenest advocates of this folly, and will then start to protest about more. Very characteristic.
Dream hair, real result.
Okay.
The framing of the slaughter of Palestinians in Gaza, there's different values on human life depending on whether you are Israeli or whether you're Iranian, or depending on whether you're Israeli or Palestinian. If you're a dead Israeli, it's much more value and accuracy. There's a lot of time spent just explaining what a tragedy it is, whereas the dead Palestinians or Iranians are just passively described. This kind of double standards and hypocrisy has been exposed again and again. Let's look at the comparator of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Everybody immediately explained that this was an act of aggression, that the Russians had launched the war.
Today at 1, we're live in Ukraine as Russia invades in a major military assault by land, sea, and air. Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1 from the Ukrainian capital Kyiv, where just before dawn, as air raid sirens sounded here, Vladimir Putin launched an all-out assault on this country. The NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said it was a brutal act of war of the type we thought was part of history in Europe.
In sharp contrast with that,
at 10, Donald Trump says the war with Iran was the last best chance to stop the country's regime. Hello to you. We're live in Tel Aviv as Donald Trump reiterates the war with Iran is designed to eliminate the threat from a terrorist regime, and going to war was the last best chance to stop Iran posing a threat to America.
Ayatollah Khamenei, whatever you might have thought of him, is the spiritual leader for tens, if not hundreds of millions of people. How would we react if our king was assassinated? We would go wild. So these denunciations by Yvette Cooper and others of Iran for retaliating in the face of this extreme and barbaric provocation don't make any sense at all.
Okay, what you got?
Shalom, Brother Leonard, he spoke about a civil war in Iran, right?
Okay.
And you know how they what's the special forces of Israel, Mossad. So
yeah,
that made me think about that show you had me watch, Spartacus, with Julius Caesar, where he had went amongst Spartacus people and then caused the rebellion.
Right, exactly.
You know, and then it made it easier for them to take them over. That's
They've
just
been
what
doing
that.
that.
I'm sorry.
They've been doing that. That's what the CIA and all that is about.
Right.
And not only do they do it in other countries, they do it here within the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, become stars. Like what I was telling you about that summer of rage, what they did in the Middle East. That's the reason the Middle East is they set the Middle East up for where it's at now, from what they done back then with that summer of rage, when all those countries, all those Arab countries were tumbled over coups and all that because they had those CIA agents up in there with it, like what they're doing now.
Right.
Stirring up chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, like I said, if you ain't never seen it, Google it. Summer Rage. You'll be surprised. So, with that being said, like I said, I've been screaming about what I'm getting ready to show, and now it's coming out right in front of everybody's face. I said that what they're doing with those data centers and all that, everything we've been talking about, it's getting ready to come to a head, and it has to happen before the midterm. Because after the midterm, these people been exposed. Now they got a 2-for-1 because they was really sold on Israel for as nobody wasn't really going to turn against Israel, but after the events that happened since Project 2025 came on the scene and what they did with the Gaza and all that, nobody wants to deal with Iran and nobody wants to deal with America, especially the Republicans and this mega movement. So it's gonna come to a screaming halt in the midterms. So these people gotta do whatever they're gonna do before the midterms. They gotta suspend the Constitution and suspend the American government before November 11th. Check it out. I'll give you an example. Okay.
feel that Trump is in really, really deep shit at the moment. It's bad, man. It's bad. I mean, we've seen polls where every single demographic group that he picked up votes with in 2024, they are gone and then some. They've reverted to the mean, and in many cases, worse than that.
Come on.
Okay? So all the independents, all the young voters, all the Hispanic voters, these were all groups that, you know, political pundits were a little shocked, like, oh shit, he did a little better than your average Republican did with those groups, right? Well, now people are looking at it and going, hey, yo, what have you done? You bled away all your support. There's one poll, remember, it was like 44 and under and 12% approval rating for Trump among people 44 and under. That's not just young voters, that's like middle-aged and young voters. Okay? Disaster polls. Now, when we look at the overall favorability, we've seen it, right? At his peak, maybe he was looking at like 46% of the country supports him. That's at his peak. As time has gone by, that bitch dropped immediately like 42, 43. Then you got to like an average of 42 in the polls, not just like one or two polls saying that. Then you finally started seeing 39, 38, 34, okay? And then the one I've been citing the most lately was the lowest I had seen, which is 32. Now, his average is in the 30s now. His average is about 38. But I saw one that was 32%. And I kept telling you guys, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. He's going to hit the 20s at some point, dog. He's going to be late-term George W. Bush, Dick Cheney numbers here any minute now. Okay, and let's remember, they reworked how they did the polls because they felt like they had underestimated Trump so many times that the pollsters were like, we obviously need to change the way that we do these in order to be more favorable to MAGA and Republicans because we missed shit in the past. So now we got to like put a little bit of a built-in bias in favor of them, right? Now, with that being the case, with this being built into the polls, you know what we just got? New Trump approval poll from ARG. Disapprove, 67%. Approve, 30%, y'all. 30%. What did I always tell you guys, man? I always told you his absolute floor is anywhere from 25% to 33%. We are now officially in the middle of the window that's the actual floor. But here's the thing. I think I was wrong. I actually don't think this is the actual floor anymore. Because you know what? We don't have the $5 or $6 a gallon gasoline yet, which is coming very shortly. Okay? We don't have the economic depression yet, which is coming very shortly. We don't have the AI bubble bursting, which is coming very shortly. We don't have even worse inflation and even worse unemployment, which is coming very shortly. What we have is a president who's gone out there and said, I don't even think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about it at all. He says stuff like, we can't afford to do daycare and Medicare and Medicaid and stuff like that because we got a war we got to do. And his candidates getting in there, people who will actually fight MAGA and actually stand for something like universal health care and free college and a living wage and ending the wars, et cetera, et cetera. But you can't just rest on people despising MAGA forever. You actually have to get in there and deliver for people materially. Okay, so how do we get to this point? Well, I mean, I feel like something Trump just said recently highlights why we are where we are here. It's almost like he's professionally stupid, and his persuasive skills have fallen off as his brain has gotten worse and worse, and he's clearly in cognitive decline, and he's clearly struggling with Alzheimer's or dementia. Listen to this. This is crazy. The question was, why would Americans support billions of dollars more for the Iran war when they're already struggling? Why would they support $80 billion more, which is what Pete Kegsbreth, the Secretary of War Crimes, and Trump, they're asking for an emergency $80 billion just to fund the war. And they're going, why would Americans support that when they're struggling? Ready? And then listen to Trump's reaction.
Who are you with? Not a very good group.
Nah, man, he's not even trying. He's not even trying anymore. He's not even trying. When he's caught red-handed, he's like, not a good outlet, not a good group. You guys are at peace right now, and maybe we'll make a deal. But maybe I'll kill them all. Oh no. Is a MAGA-induced migraine a thing? Because I think I'm getting one. I think it's coming on right now. Okay, I don't even know what to say about this one, bro. Asked about the reflecting pool. Listen to where this ends up. This is wild.
Part of what's curious about this situation is we stood here with you in April when you first revealed the plans.
I said what?
In April, you showed us pictures of what you were going to do. And you said you had a guy who was going to do it in a week for about $1 million.
Well,
in 2 months, $16.5 million.
Okay, ready? Barack Hussein Obama. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
You said it'd be done in a week and it'd be $1 million. It's 2 months and it's $16 million. And he goes, what about Barack Hussein Obama? You mean the guy who was out of office in 2016? A motherfucking decade ago, you fat pedophile bitch? Oh, no. Oh, God, no. Oh, my day. This was supposed to be, and it was another no-bid contract, and you guys are making money off of it. We're not dumb. We're not born yesterday. Have you considered Barack Hussein Obama? Yeah, I have. He was like 1 trillion times better than you in every imaginable way.
So they're going to spend $400 million. I spent.
The number changes literally back to back. From sentence to sentence, he'll change the number that they were going to spend this and then this other number. What the fuck are you doing?
They were going to spend 4 years. I spent 2 months, maybe less.
And made it worse. Gee, I wonder why he's in it.
Okay, what do you think, man? 25%, bro. Like I said, and all the shit they've done, they in the middle of what they got to do, and then ran out of time. So they got to do something. They got to do something horrible before November 11th. They got to, like I said, they got to suspend the American government in order to finish this bullshit they got going on. Whatever they got planned, it's going to be before November. What you think?
Yes, sir. I see that, because they got to do it while they still got the power or got a little power. Right.
So when they started it, they knew that. They that's why he keeps saying he's the last president. So he got one more. This is the
Hello, it's your
check it
friend
out.
CJ.
Israeli lobby.
We reveal why the Iran war has forever
Edomite
destroyed
lobby.
the Israel lobby. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show, and don't forget to turn your notifications on so you never miss a single episode. Now let's get into it. Zionists told us the Israel lobby was untouchable. They told us it was the most powerful lobbying machine in the history of American democracy, that it could make or break any politician with a single phone call, a single check, a single whispered threat in a Senate hallway. They told us that no candidate could win a major election in this country without bowing the knee to the Israel lobby, without pledging unconditional allegiance to a foreign government that has now killed more than 100,000 Palestinians in Gaza, most of them women and children. Well, Zionist assumptions have been proven wrong, dead wrong.
Check it
because
out.
we are watching in real time
Check
the
it out.
most consequential political realignment since the State of Israel was established on stolen Palestinian land in 1948.
For anybody who takes AIPAC money.
I will not vote. It's all the celebrities.
Candidate that takes $1 from AIPAC. I will not vote for any politician that
Yeah.
takes any money from
Not
Israel
just
lobby.
Trump.
No, I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you? Taken money from the Israel AIPAC.
The coercive and
Nobody.
corrupting influence of the Zionist lobby has been so thoroughly exposed by independent journalists during the Palestinian genocide that even Jewish media outlets are openly admitting the Israel lobby is now panicked and perplexed. So let me take you through exactly what's happening here.
Check the
American
numbers out.
sympathies shifted away from Israel and towards Palestine for the first time in US history in late 2023, as images of Israel's genocidal operations in Gaza became impossible to defend and even more impossible to ignore. Sadly, however, this shift in public opinion wasn't enough to forever vanquish the Israel lobby, which successfully backed 318 candidates in their respective congressional races during the 2024 presidential election.
98% in 2024. Check it out.
Firm believer that no candidate wins an election on their own.
What I love about AIPAC is that they get behind people and
AIPAC comes in, it's like someone threw you a live rat.
Much has happened in the 18 months since the US election. not least the criminal Zionist Crusader war against Iran, launched on February 28, which, from the vantage point of ordinary Americans, now stinks of failure, humiliation, and defeat, therefore delivering a devastating death blow to the Zionist lobby, because for the first time ever, a US administration openly confessed to being dragged into yet another expensive and self-defeating war by the state of Israel.
Yesterday, you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran and that's why we needed to get involved.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed.
Rubio's rare moment of truthfulness was compounded by the resignation of White House counterterrorism official Joe Kent, who laid blame squarely at the feet of the Israel lobby for leading the United States into another disastrous conflict in the Middle East.
Tonight, the administration's top counterterrorism official resigning in protest over President Trump's war with Iran, declaring Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Joe Kent, director of the National Counterterrorism Center, writing, "I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. It is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby." Kent accusing Israel of a misinformation campaign to deceive Trump into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States, and that should he strike now, there was a clear path to swift victory. This was a lie. President Trump, who has long...
Pro-Zionist media outlets are now no longer hiding the fact that the war against Iran is Israel's war of choice, while chastising Trump for being dumb enough to be conned by the Israeli Prime Minister into believing the Iranian government and military could be toppled easily, a promise that has been proven wrong on every count.
Willing to basically not be okay with limiting Israel's aid based on certain criterion. And so they dropped like $2 million against this guy. And basically what they ended up doing by dropping so much money against Tom Malinowski, they ended up actually helping a progressive who's genuinely anti-Israel and pro-Palestine win. That's actually what ended up happening. So it's absolutely hilarious.
AIPAC wasted millions of dollars on an election in which voters ultimately end up choosing a candidate who rightly accuses Israel of committing genocide. That is not power. That is a firing squad that keeps shooting itself in the foot, as it wastes millions of more dollars in backing Zionists who are losing to pro-Palestine candidates across the country, like we see here for the Democratic primary for the United States Senate in Michigan. The tables are now completely turned. You see, when the Israel lobby operated quietly in the shadows, it was feared. But now that its dollars are exposed, its candidate selections are scrutinized, and its tactics are mapped in real time by grassroots organizations like Track AIPAC, the lobby's greatest weapon, fear, has been stripped from it.
As the AIPAC brand becomes increasingly toxic thanks to the genocide Israel is committing in Gaza, some Democrats on the Hill are finally starting to get the message and backing off of their cozy ties with the Israel lobby.
The fate of the Zionist state is directly tied to the fate of the Zionist lobby, because the decline or death of one means ultimate doom for the other, a death spiral that starts with congressional members proposing bills to end military aid to Israel.
There is no military purpose in starving thousands and thousands of children. Let us be clear. This is not an effort to win a war. This is an effort to destroy a people. Further, Mr. President, recent Economist YouGov poll shows that just 15% of the American people support increasing military aid to Israel, while 35% support decreasing military aid to Israel or stopping it entirely. Just 8% of Democrats support increasing military aid to Israel. Mr. President?
The Israel lobby is not only losing influence at the margins, it has lost its foundational premise that support for Israel is good politics. Its loss is a massive win in the fight for Palestinian liberation. But it's important we don't get ahead of ourselves. And it's even more important we keep things in perspective. Because the Zionist lobby's collapse doesn't mean it's dead and buried, at least yet. It still exists and has billions of dollars behind it. It will try to buy its way back, and it will still try to silence and intimidate its critics, including independent journalists and including our program. Remember.
Okay. So what you think?
Well, Brother Leonard, you keep saying it's coming to a head, right? And
Yeah.
yes, sir. So I think about Brother Leonard, how he said people was more scared of them when they was in the shadows, but
Right.
now that they shown themselves that they're behind everything, everybody mad at them, calling them out.
Oh yeah, exactly. And they can't rebound from this, especially not before the agenda they already showed the whole world. November is too close. Like I said, so you gotta expect some chaotic shit gonna happen between now and November. Leave that. This all this that you seeing was about the Greater Israel Project. And they can't continue to go with that if they're not in control with the politicians in America, because they're gonna lose that. They lost that control, and then they definitely ain't gonna win in midterms. See what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and read our 5 chapters out of 2 Kings.
And we in at 21, right, Brother Leonard?
Yeah.
All right, and it Manasseh's reign, and
right.
Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 55 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hephzibah, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, after the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. For he built up again the high places which Hezekiah his father had destroyed, and he reared up altars for Baal and made a grove, as did Ahab of Israel, and worshipped, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served them. And he built altars in the house of the Lord, of which the Lord said, in Jerusalem will I put my name. And he built altars for all the host of heaven in the 2 courts of the house of the Lord. And he made his son pass through the fire, and observed times, and used enchantments, and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. And he set a graven image of the grove that he had made in the house, of which the Lord said to David and to Solomon, his son, in this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen, out of all the tribes of Israel will I put my name forever. Neither will I make the feet of Israel move any more out of the land which I give their fathers, but only if they will observe and do according to all that I have commanded them, and according to all the law that my servant Moses commanded them. But they hearkened not, and Manasseh seduced them to do more evil than did the nations whom the Lord destroyed from before the children of Israel. And the Lord spake to his servants, the prophets, saying, because Manasseh, king of Judah, has done these abominations, and have done wickedly above all that the Amorites did, which were before him, and have made Judah to sin with his idols. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, behold, I am bringing such evil upon Jerusalem and Judah, that whosoever heareth of it, both his ears shall tingle. And I will stretch over Jerusalem the line of Samaria, and the plummet of the house of Ahab, and I will wipe Jerusalem as a man wipeth a dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. And I will forsake the remnant of mine inheritance, and deliver them into the hand of their enemies, and they shall become a prey and a spoil to all their enemies, because they have done which was evil in my sight, and have provoked me to anger since the day their fathers came forth out of Egypt, even unto this day. Moreover, Manasseh shed innocent blood very much, till he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another, beside his sin wherewith he made Judah to sin, in doing that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. Now the rest of the acts of Manasseh, and all that he did in his sin that he sinned, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And Manasseh slept with his fathers and was buried in the garden of his own house, in the garden of Uzzah, and Ammon his son reigned in his stead. And Ammon was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Meshullemith, the daughter of Haruz of Jotbah. And he did which was evil in the sight of the Lord, as his father Manasseh did. And he walked in all the way his father walked in, and served the idols that his father served, and worshipped them. And he forsook the Lord God of his fathers, and walked not in the way of the Lord. And the servants of Ammon conspired against him, and slew the king in his own house. And the people of the land slew all them that had conspired against King Ammon. And the people of the land made Josiah, his son, king in his stead. Now the rest of the acts of Ammon which he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And he was buried in his sepulchre in the garden of Uzzah, and Josiah his son reigned in his stead. And Shalom. Now it's 2 Kings 21.
Okay, you got anything on that?
Yes, sir, Brother Leonard. In verse 9, and then they mention it again in 16, but where it says they hearken not, verse 9, but they hearken not, and Manasseh seduced them to do more evil. Then did the nations whom the Lord destroyed from before the children of Israel.
Right.
The king and the Levites, they judge Israel, right? So that's how. And they're the shepherd. So that's how, since he was sinning, other people just followed after him. Is that what's being said?
Right. Yeah, he controlling what they do.
Right.
Telling them what to do. He's standing in the place of the Lord of hosts. The people can't see the Lord of hosts, but they see him.
Oh, right.
You see what I'm saying? That's the same. That's the same way when you understand about the Lord of hosts is the judge, right?
Right.
Well, who the judge in Numbers 18? The priests and Levites, right?
Right, yes, sir.
They can't see him, but the priest and Levite is judge in the nation of Israel, and every man in his household.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So that's how you got to look at that. But anyway, look at what you just 9. It says, but they hearken not. Who they not hearkening to?
The Lord of hosts, Michael.
That take us back to Exodus 23 and 20, right?
Right.
It's an angel. It's the same way. Right here, right quick. Let me go there. This is where I think a lot of people don't just make it simple. So if you go to let me get it. I lost my train of thought, man. What we was talking about?
They hearken not to the voice.
Yeah. Right. They hearken not. So we see that in Deuteronomy 23. Then we go to, we see that in I just said it in Exodus 23 and 20. He told them, I'm leaving. I'm gonna put this angel over you. He gonna lead you wherever you're going. Listen to him. Hearken to his voice. Right. So check this out. I'm in Deuteronomy right quick. Deuteronomy 28, the curses. So we go to Deuteronomy 28 right quick. We see in 28, the blessings is from 1 to 14. Verse 14 says, and thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods. Now here go 15. These are the consequences of disobedience. But it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken. See that? Same thing you just read. Hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. That ain't Yahweh. That's the angel we just read in Exodus 23 and 20. To observe and do his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee. So they answer the other question you asked earlier. They wasn't innocent because they didn't hearken right here. See that?
Yes, sir.
Right. So when they say hearken, they ain't talking to Yahweh. Yahweh gone. He came down, like I said, he came down on the mountain, and the mountain quaked and erupted and all that. We see the Lord when he came to Abraham, when he came in the cool of the day. Everything do all that, did it?
Right.
Okay, because it wasn't none of him.
Sure.
Okay. You got anything else?
And Brother Leonard, so this Manasseh right here, this he in Isaiah 14.
Isaiah 14. What it say?
This the one. I don't think this him. But I was asking, was this the one that had built that throne that Samuel's coaching him up to? In Isaiah 14, where they said it, I'm gonna put my throne above the Most High's.
Let me see. Isaiah 14.
14, yes, sir. That might not.
What verse is?
13.
Yeah, I don't think this is saying an answer.
Okay.
I thought this here was Ahaz, wasn't it?
That's what it is, Brother Linda. It's Ahaz.
Right, okay.
It's Ahaz.
Right, all right. So we in 2 Kings 22.
Right, yes, sir. And it says Josiah's reign. And Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jediah, the daughter of Adiah of Baskath. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and walked in all the way of David his father, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. And it came to pass in the 18th year of King Josiah that the king sent Shaphan, the son of Azaliah, the son of Meshullam, the scribe, to the house of the Lord, saying, Go up to Hilkiah the high priest, that he may sum the silver which is brought into the house of the Lord, which the keepers of the door have gathered of the people, and let them deliver it onto the hands of the doers of work that have the oversight of the house of the Lord, and let them give it to the doers of the work which is in the house of the Lord to repair the breaches of the house, onto carpenters and builders and masons to buy timber and hewn stone to repair the house. Howbeit, there was no reckoning made with them of the money that was delivered into their hand, because they dealt faithfully. And Hilkiah the high priest said unto Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it. And Shaphan the scribe came to the king and brought the king word again, and said, Thy servants have gathered the money that was found in the house, and have delivered it into the hand of them that do the work, that have oversight of the house of the Lord. And Shaphan the scribe showed the king, saying, Hilkiah the high priest delivered me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass, when the king heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes. And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest and Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, and Akbar, the son of Micaiah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asaiah, a servant of the king, saying, Go ye, inquire of the Lord for me, and for the people, and for all Judah, concerning the words of this book that is found. For great is the wrath of the Lord that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not hearkened unto the words of this book, to do according unto all that which is written concerning us. So Hilkiah the priest, and Ahiakim, and Akbar, and Shaphan, and Asaiah went on to Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, the son of Tikvah, the son of Harhas, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in her college, and they communed with her. And she said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Tell the man that sent you unto me, Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the words of the book which the king of Judah hath read, because they have forsaken me, and have burned incense unto other gods, that they might provoke me to anger with all the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be kindled against this place, and shall not be quenched, but to make the king of Judah, which sent you to inquire of the Lord. Thus shall you say to him, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, as touching the words which thou hast heard, because thine heart was tender, and thou hast humbled thyself before the Lord, when thou heardest what I spake against this place, and against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and hast rent thy clothes, and wept before me. I also have heard thee, saith the Lord. Behold, therefore, I will gather thee unto thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered into thy grave in peace, and thine eyes shall not see all the evil which I shall bring upon this place. And they brought the king word again. And shalom. That was 2 Kings 22.
Okay, so see how this work. You see in verse 10.
Okay.
So he found the book of the law. They wasn't even dealing with it, right?
Right.
That's why they so far off. They wasn't even dealing with it. But in 10 it says, Stephan the scribe showed the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest have delivered me a book. And Stephan read it. See that? And Shaphan read it before the king, right?
Right.
And it came to pass when the king heard, see that? He heard the words of the book of the law, that he rent his clothes. See that? That's the same way today. They talking all this bull crap, but when you hear, wherever it's at, like I said, wherever it's at, when you hear the truth, the word of the Most High, it's gonna do something to you. See what I'm saying?
Sure.
Now you go back over here after that, because of that, because of who he is. Like I said, thinking like a Hebrew, he got Hebrew blood in him. Then it says, the Lord told him in 18, but to the king of Judah, which sent you to inquire of the Lord, thus shall ye say to him, check it out, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, as touching the words, see that? As touching the words which thou have heard. Didn't he do a break dance when he heard it?
Right. Yes, sir.
19. Because thine heart was tender, and thou hast humbled thyself before the Lord, when thou heardest what I spake against this place, and against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and hast rent thy clothes, and wept before me, I also have heard thee, said the Lord. Behold, therefore, I will gather thee unto thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered in thy grave in peace. See that? Ain't that something?
Come on.
Okay.
And so, Brother Leonard, I have a question real quick. So if they didn't have the book of the law, then I would think they missed some of those Sabbaths or Sabbath years then, right?
Yeah, that's what all it's about.
Come on.
That's what all it's about. They not remember what he told them when he said, right, get a book of the law, the Torah, and give it to the king. And the king got to keep that when he's sitting on the throne, he got to have the Torah with him. You ever seen that?
Right, yes, sir. He supposed to have a copy with him. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
all
supposed to
time,
write.
at all times. So
Right,
we know he didn't. We know he didn't because right here.
right,
For 490 years, they ain't had it because they weren't keeping it. They're so far away from it, they dealing with all the pagan worship. See that?
right.
And then well, one more thing I saw. So it says, yeah, 22 and verse 2, it says, this is Josiah, right?
Yes, yes.
He did that which was right inside of the Lord, right? I told you that right. So he says, and he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and walked in the ways of David his father. Is David his father?
Right, he is.
No,
Well,
I
not
mean you daddy.
great.
Great. But like I said, when thinking like a Hebrew, you have to. That's how you got to look at some things to break it down. David ain't on his daddy, but so what's going on? It says Adam had Cain killed Abel, right?
Right.
And then Adam had another son in his own likeness, like him. See that? All the sons ain't like him. Come on. So here we go right here.
Okay.
And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord and walked in the ways of David. He like David. That's what JC can't do this. See what I'm saying? You can have all them boys, but then he gonna bring one out just like David. To act like David. See what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So here go a prime example, right here. Then we'll move on. Here go a prime example. I talked about this. We talked about this the other day. Verse 1, Isaiah, verse 1, chapter 1. The vision of Isaiah, son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzi, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. Hezekiah like David.
Right.
Those three ain't. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you gonna read 23 or what?
Oh yes, sir. I'll take it on. And it's the law read to the people, and it's and the king sent, and they gathered unto him all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. And the king went up into the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears, all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of the Lord. And the king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all their heart and their soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. And the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest and the priests of the second order and the keepers of the door to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal and for the grove and for all the host of heaven. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron and carried the ashes of them onto Bethel. And he
so look at verse 4. Verse
Okay.
4, that go you the arm. Isaiah 53, the arm of the Lord.
Yes, sir.
There it is. Look at verse 4.
53 and 4. And the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest.
That's the high priest. He the high priest. And what?
And the priest of the second order.
Okay. And
the keepers of the door.
To do what?
To bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal and for the grove and for all the host of heaven. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron and carried the ashes of them onto Bethel.
So who did that? Did Yahweh do that, or did the priesthood?
The priesthood did that. The Levite.
That's the arm. That's the arm right there. See that?
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Come on. And he put down the idolatry. Okay. And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah and in the places round about Jerusalem, them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven. And he brought out the grove from the house of the Lord without Jerusalem onto the brook Kidron, and burned it at the brook Kidron, and stamped it small to powder, and cast the powder thereof upon the graves of all the children of the people. And he brake down the
Okay,
house.
read that 6 again.
Yes, sir. And he brought it. You said 5, 5 and 6, or just 6?
6.
Yes, sir. And he brought out the grove from the house of the Lord without.
So what is that? What's that? What is that?
A grove.
That's what Ahaz had in there. Remember, he put it in the house of the Lord, in the temple. He taking it out. Go ahead.
Okay. And
you know the grove is, right?
Ain't that like a shrine or is?
No, you know, I don't know. You ever seen what's that movie with Game of Thrones?
Okay.
Remember the king? He had that place he always went to where the oak tree and the water all around there, and they had left all these different types of little on things there for, for like memorational things, like people do, like they did for the World Trade Center. They come in and bring all those little for their loved ones. They start like a memorial right there around on the grounds of where all the people died at.
Right. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
So we saw in chapter 18, 3 angels came to Abraham, right?
Right.
And Abraham told him, told his wife Sarah make cakes, told Ishmael run out there and get a calf tender and good. He cooked it and where they ate it under the tree.
Right.
So these pagan people, they dealing with these angels and these spirits too. So if they come across a spirit or something by oak tree, then they venerate that oak tree. They make a grove out of it. They set it up and put, they have flowers and all that and build it up, water around there. More specifically, they'll find a place like that. It's got like a little, maybe a little stream running to it with a little pond, a big tree there, and they're venerated, and that's where they go. They make this grove. It was called grove worship. So this dude took it and put it in the temple. So this was he taken out of the temple. So they took a pagan god and put him in Yahweh temple, worshiping him in Yahweh temple. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. And he break down the houses. And he break down the houses of the Sodomites that were by the house of the Lord, where the women wove hangings for the grove. And he wrought.
See what I just said there?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Sir, and he brought all the priests out the cities of Judah and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense, from Geba to Beersheba, and break down the high places of the gates that were in the entering of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were on a man's left hand at the gate of the city. Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, but they did eat of the unleavened bread among their brethren. And he defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the children of Hanam, that no man might make his son or daughter pass through the fire to Malak. And he took away the horses that the kings of Judah had given to the sun at the entering in of the house of the Lord by the chamber of Nathan-Melech the chamberlain, which was in the suburbs, and burned the chariots of the sun with fire. And the altars that were on the top of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the 2 courts of the house of the Lord, did the king beat down and break them down from thence, and cast the dust of them into the brook Kidron, and the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the mount of corruption, which King Solomon, which King Solomon of Israel had builded for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Zidonians, and for Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites, and for Milcom, the abomination of Ammon, did the king defile. And he brake in pieces the images, and cut down the groves, and filled their places with the bones of men. Moreover, the altar that was at Bethel, and the high place which Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, had made both the altar and the high place, he brake down, had made both the altar and the high place, he brake down, and burned the high place, and stamped it small to powder, and burned the grove. And as Josiah turned himself, he spied the sepulchres that were there in the mount, and sent and took the bones out of the sepulchres, and burned them upon the altar, and polluted it, according to the word of the Lord, which the man of God proclaimed, who proclaimed these words. And he said, what title is that I see? And the men of the city told him, it is a sepulchre of the man of God, which came from Judah, and proclaimed these things that thou hast done against the altar of Bethel. And he said, let him alone, let no man move his bones. So they let his bones alone, with the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria, and all the bones, and all the houses also of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, which the king of Israel had made to provoke the Lord to anger. Josiah took away, and did to them according to all the acts that he had done in Bethel. And he slew all the priests of the high places that were upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them, and returned to Jerusalem. And the king commanded the people, saying, keep the Passover unto the Lord, as it is written in the book of this covenant. Surely there was not holding such a Passover from the days of the judges that judged Israel, nor in all the days of the kings of Israel, nor of the kings of Judah, but in the 18th year of the King Josiah, wherein this Passover was holding to the Lord in Jerusalem. Moreover, the workers with familiar spirits, and the wizards, and the images, and the idols, and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, did Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. And like unto him there was no king before him that turned to the Lord with all his heart, and with all his soul, and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses. Neither after him arose any like him. Notwithstanding, the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal. And the Lord said, I will remove Judah also out of my sight, as I have removed Israel, and will cast off this city Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house of which I have said, my name shall be here. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates, and the king Josiah went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo when he had seen him, and his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him, and made him king in his father's stead. Jehoaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. And Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in the room of his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim, and took Jehoaz away, and he came to Egypt and died there. And Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, and everyone according to his taxation, to give it unto Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Zebudah, the daughter of Pedaiah of Rumah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. And Shalom, that was 2 Kings chapter 23.
Okay, you got it down on
that? Shalom, yes, sir. But Brother Leonard, where it says in Josiah in verse 16.
Okay.
What? Wait, I'm trying to make sure this is the right verse. Brother Leonard brought down this over here. Then he took the bones out. Josiah turned him. So yeah, that's it. What's going on with so the bones? Was Josiah just putting the people that he was killing or unaliving in the sepulchres? That's where whose bones?
No, you had all the wicked kings like Uzi and Jotham and all them.
Yes, sir.
They worship. They worship these false gods, right?
All right. Yes, sir.
So he came and took their bones out and burned them.
Okay.
Because they probably was buried under the auspices of these false gods when they got buried.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then you also me looking at it, understanding it was what's going to happen in Ezekiel 37.
Resurrection.
So he cutting them off from being resurrected.
Come on. Okay.
Right.
Oh.
That's why he's bringing out their bones, burn them up. See that?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Because you go to Ezekiel 37, then he say, bone came together to his bone.
Yes, sir.
Well, they can't do that if they burned up.
Come on. So, man, so that just made the what Manasseh doing and all the other kings where they making their kids pass through the fire. I mean, it's
Right.
no chance for them then.
Right, exactly. And that's why he burning them up.
Man,
they wicked as hell. Is that something?
Okay. Yes, sir. That's deep right there. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So we're gonna go to when we talked about the Jehoiakim.
Right. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got one over there with Ramashab when he came to the Syrian king. There's two different Jehoiakim. But anyway, I'm in chapter 24. Jehoiakim was subdued by Nebuchadnezzar. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him. And the Lord sent against him bands of Chaldeans, bands of Syrians, bands of Moabites, bands of the children of Ammon, and they sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word of the Lord, which he had spake by his servants, the prophets. Surely, at the commandment of the Lord came this upon Judah, to remove them out of his sight for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did, and also for the innocent blood that he shed, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord will not pardon. To that which the Lord will not pardon, that take you to where? Exodus 23 and 20, right?
Yes, sir.
Say 5. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and all he did, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiakim, his son, reigned in his stead. And the king of Egypt came not again any more out of the land, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt. Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. and his mother's name was Ashita, the daughter of Elathan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem and besieged, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother. Here you go. That's how we get Zerubbabel right here. It says, and Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother, and his servants, and his princesses, and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. So he got everything he needs to reproduce, right? You see that?
Right, yes, sir.
That's the Lord of hosts. That's the Lord of hosts right there. Say, and he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house, and he cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. And he carried away all of Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and the smiths. None remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land. And he carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon, and the king's mother, see that? And the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land. Those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. And all the men of might, even 7,000, and the craftsmen, the smiths, 1,000, all that were strong and apt for war. Even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Matthias, his father's brother, king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamatal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, and according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For through the anger of the Lord it came to pass in Jerusalem and Judah, until he cast them out from his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. Okay, that was 2 Kings 24, right?
Yes, sir.
So look at verse 17. It says, and the king of Babylon made Matthias. See that? The king of Babylon made Matthias, his father's brother, king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. So what just happened?
That's Josiah's brother, right? Brother Leonard?
Yep, it's Josiah's brother, right?
Right, but a king outside of Israel made somebody else a king versus
right.
Yes, sir, David's line.
Right, but is this following? Did Yahweh ordain this?
Oh, right, no, sir, no, sir.
It's a breach. It's a breach right here.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a breach happened right here, Zedekiah.
Right.
And that's how Zedekiah ended up in Jerusalem. I mean, in Babylon, got killed, got his eye put out. And I was telling you about you all. Let's look at it right quick while we're here. This what he's talking about when he says Ezekiel 19. You over there in Ezekiel 19?
Ezekiel 19.
No, it ain't. It's not Ezekiel. Let me see. Maybe Isaiah 19. Let me see right quick. I think it's Isaiah 19. Let me see. It's about the eagle. I told you about the eagle and the vine. That's in
Oh, I think that is in Ezekiel, brother Leonard.
Yeah, Ezekiel must be 17 or something like that, I think. Let's see. 17. I know it's around 19.
Is it yes sir, 17, Ezekiel
Yeah.
17,
Yeah,
the parable.
Right. Yeah, the parable of the eagle and the vine. So it says, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, put forth a riddle. Speak a riddle unto the house of Israel, and say, Thus saith the Lord, a great eagle with great wings, long wings, full of feathers, which had divers colors, came to Lebanon, took the highest branch. That's Jehoiakim, right?
Right.
That's Jehoiakim right there. He cropped off the top of his young twig. He was 8 years old, or 18 or something like that, and carried it into a lane of traffic and set it in the city of Murder, that's Babylon, right?
Right.
And then keep going. He took also of the seed of the land and planted it in a fruitful field. He placed it by great rivers, right? By great rivers of water, and set it as a willow tree, and it grew and became a spreading vine of low stature, whose branches turned toward him, and the roots thereof were under him. So it's Zerubbabel, Jehoiakim, Zerubbabel, and so he became a vine and brought forth branches. That's how you get Zerubbabel, and shot forth sprig. Therefore there was also another great eagle. Check it out. This is where Zedekiah coming in. There was also another great eagle with great wings and many feathers, and behold, this vine did bend her roots toward him and shoot for her branches toward him, and that he might water it by the furrows of the plantation. And it was planted in good soil by great waters, that it might bring forth branches, and that it might bear fruit, that it might be a goodly tree. Say thus say the Lord God, shall it prosper? Shall he not pull up the roots thereof and cut off the fruit thereof, that it wither, and it shall wither, and all the leaves of a sprig, even without a great power or mighty people to pluck it up by the root thereof. Yea, behold, being planted, it shall prosper. It shall not utterly wither. When the east winds touch it, it shall wither in the furrows wherever it grew. So let me get over here to, I think he broke it down. It says, let me see. So anyway, what happened is two different out of Cedar David. He took Jehoiakim to Babylon. Then he came and got Zedekiah, and then Zedekiah was, when you go to Jeremiah 23, Jeremiah 24, we got two baskets of figs, right? One of them was a good basket, that's Jehoiakim. Then the other basket is Zedekiah. He was very naughty figs, and Zedekiah was. It was two kings. This the first time in Jerusalem that you had two kings ruling at the same time. You had Jehoiakim, like I said, Jehoiakim is following the lineage of what Michael followed. He the one chosen. Jehoiakim is he the true king. He in captivity in Babylon, and then this man made Zedekiah king, Mathis. So he ruling in Jerusalem. So it's two kings at the same time. One of them was wicked, and the other one is from the royal lineage. You see that?
Right, yes, sir.
So let me go right quick. Explain that a little better. So you go to Jeremiah 20, we're going to tell you that. In Jeremiah 24, it says, okay, 24, the lesson of the good and bad fig. The Lord showed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs were set before the temple of the Lord after Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and the princes of Judah with the carpenters and the smiths from Jerusalem, and had brought them to Babylon. 1 basket had very good figs, even like the figs that are first ripe, and the other basket had very naughty figs, which could not be eaten, for they were so bad. Then said the Lord unto me, What seest thou, Jeremiah? And I said, Figs, good figs, very good, and evil, very evil, that cannot be eaten. They are so evil. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Thus says the Lord God of Israel, like these good figs, see that? So will I acknowledge them that are carried away captive of Judah, whom I have sent out of this place into the land of the Chaldeans. So he's telling you where they went. That's Jehoiakim. For I will set mine eyes upon them for good, and I will bring them again. He brought them back. And I will build them and not pull them down. I will plant them and not pluck them up. Now here you go. And I will give a heart to know me, that I am the Lord, and I shall be, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God, and they shall return unto me with their whole heart. And then here you go. As for the evil fig, which cannot be eaten, they are so evil. Surely, thus says the Lord, so will I give, see that? Zedekiah. See that?
Right, yes, sir.
You the wicked fig. So, like I said, two eagles came. One took one plucked off Jehoiakim, and the other one plucked off Zedekiah. See that?
Right. Sure.
Okay. So where on that? Over in 2 Kings, where's chapter 25, right?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. 25 now.
Yeah, chapter the fall of Jerusalem. And it came to pass in the 9th year in his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, he and all his hosts against Jerusalem, pitched against it, and they built forts against it round about. And the city was besieged until the 11th year of King of Zedekiah. And on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land. And the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between the walls, which is by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were against the city round about, and the king went the way toward the plains, and the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army were scattered from him. So they took the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah, and they gave judgment upon him, and they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out his eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him with feathers of brass. See that? Carried him to Babylon. See that? And in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of King Zedekiah, king of Babylon, came Nebuchadnezzar, captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and he burnt the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every great man's house he burnt with fire. And all the army of the Chaldeans that were with the captain of the guard break down the walls of Jerusalem round about. Now the rest of the people that were left in the city, and all the fugitives that fled away to the king of Babylon, with the remnant of the multitude, did Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, carry away. But the captain of the guard, captain of the guard left the poor of the land to be vine dressers and husbandmen, and the pillars of brass that were in the house of the Lord, and the bases and the brazen sea that was in the house of the Lord, did the Chaldeans break in pieces, and carry the brass of them to Babylon, and the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and the spoons and all the vessels of brass wherewith they ministered, took their way. and the fry pans, and the fry pans, and the bowls, and all such as were of gold in gold, and of silver in silver, the captain of the guard took away. And the two pillars, one seat, and the bases which Solomon had made for the house of the Lord, the brass of all these vessels was without weight, and the height of the one pillar was 18 cubits, and the capital upon it was brass, and the height of the caliper was 3 cubits, and the withering work, and the pomegranates upon the CHAPTRS round about, all of brass, and likened unto these had the second pillar with wreathen work. And the captain of the guard took Sarai, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and the three keepers of the door. And out of the city he took an officer that was set over the men of war, and the 5 men of them that were in the king's presence, which were found in the city, and the principal scribes of the host, which mustered the people of the land, and 80 men of the people of the land that were found in the city. And that was all the captain of the guard took these and brought them to the king of Babylon in Riblah. And the king of Babylon smote them and slew them at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So Judah was carried away out of the land. And as for the people that remained in the land of Judah, which Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had left, even over them he made Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Stephan, ruler. And when all the captains of the armies, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, there came to Gedaliah to Mizpah, even Ishmael, the son of Nethiah, and Jochanan, the son of Korah, and Shariah, the son of Tenahut, the Neophite, and Jasa, the son of, I can't say these names, Micah. They and the men and their men. And Gedaliah swore to them and to their men and said unto them, fear not to be servants of the Chaldeans, dwell in the land, serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with thee. But it came to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael, the son of Nethan, the son of Elisha of the seed royal, came, and 10 men with him, and smote Gedaliah, that he died. And the Jews of the Chaldeans that were with him at Mizpah, and all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, and they were afraid of the Chaldeans. It says, and it came to pass in the 7th and 13th year of the captivity of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 7th day of the month, 7th and 20th day of the month, that evil Murdoch, king of Babylon, did lift up the head of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, out of prison. And he spake kindly to him, and he set his throne above the thrones of the kings that were in Babylon, and changed his prison garment, and he did eat bread continually before him all the days of his life. And his allowance was a continual allowance given him of the king, the daily rate up for every day, all the days of his life. Okay, so that was chapter 25 of First Kings, the last chapter in that. Okay, you got anything on that?
Shalom, brother Leonard, that throne right there. So when this when this throne is raised up above everybody, I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at the verse. So when Jehoiakim, my fault, brother. So when
Right.
Jehoiakim is raised up, when his throne is raised up, it said his throne was raised up amongst all the other kings that were with him in Babylon.
Right.
But so he's still a king though, right? Even
That's
though
what I'm
he's
saying. You got the right to the righteous king, the right one from the line that the most I dealing with in captivity in Babylon. That's Jehoiakim. But the other king was not right. It wasn't a lawful king. Nebuchadnezzar made him king.
Yes, sir.
So for the first time, you got two kings ruling at the same time from out of Judah.
Right. Okay.
That's the two. That's where the two eagles come in at. He came in first and got plucked the twig. That was Jehoiakim. He came back the second time, plucked Zedekiah.
Right. Right.
They all out of David. They all out of David lineage. Both of them out of David lineage. Okay.
And that was my question, Brother Leonard. Is this same throne that Jehoiakim is sitting on? Is this the one that Zerubbabel sat on?
Right.
Is that the same position?
Yeah, it's David's throne. That's why he raising it up. The Lord, the Lord of hosts doing this. He ain't got no reason to go to the prison and get Jehoiakim out of prison. It's the Lord of hosts. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So
Exactly.
he had more than likely, he came to him like he did Amalek when he had Sarah. Evidently, he had to come to him in a dream and command him to do that. Same way he came to Osiris.
Okay.
But remember, Osiris said, your God told me to do this.
Right.
So he had to talk to him. So he talked to him in a dream and vision. So same thing right here. You see that?
It made perfect sense.
So yeah. And then one more thing I was gonna mention it the other day, but I didn't get a chance. I didn't never come across it. Notice what that dude is. You see that in verse 24?
Get a liar?
Yeah, you don't remember that name?
I remember seeing it a lot, but
yesterday we was dealing with it. Whatever, I got to go back. We can do that after class, but I will go back to what we was reading yesterday. This dude right here. Yesterday we did it, but we deal with that in a minute. So what we at? Pick a scripture.
Okay, yes, sir. Can I go back to that Ezekiel 17, Brother Leonard?
Yeah, what you got?
Those last three verses, 22 through 24, where it's and it says, "Thus saith the Lord God, I will also take of the highest branch of the high cedar and will set it, and will crop off the top of his young twigs a tender one, and will plant it upon an high mountain and eminent. In the mountain of the height of Israel will I plant it, and it shall bring forth boughs and bear fruit and be a goodly cedar, and under it shall dwell all fowl of every wing. In the shadow of the branches thereof shall they dwell. All the trees of the field shall know that I, the Lord, have brought down the high tree, and have exalted the low tree, and have dried up the green tree, and have made the dry tree to flourish. I, the Lord, have spoken and have done it." And shalom, that was Ezekiel 17, 22 through 24.
Okay.
And Brother Leonard, I'm just asking who is this this tender branch?
That's Zerubbabel.
Come on, okay.
That's Zerubbabel. Then he says the high tree was Nebuchadnezzar, right?
Okay.
He brought him down and then raised up the low tree, Zerubbabel.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then, like I said, he he tell you who the other one is. He called his name. He called him by name. He said Zedekiah.
Mm-hmm.
And the king of Babylon came and got him and took him to Babylon, and he killed him. So, like I was saying, those books out of order. So, you know what I mean?
Oh, right. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So, you good?
And shalom, yes, sir. I'm good.
Okay. So, with that being said, don't say shalom. Shalom and another shalom. I see everybody. Tomorrow we have our Women's Advanced Bible Study from 7 to 9. The men can come in through YouTube. Okay. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Shalom.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament in Tanak, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.